As mentioned, I work for the Forest Resources Association. It's a national forest industry trade association. We're out in Rockville, Maryland, and we're very proud members of 25 by 25, and we're very pleased to be involved with your 5th National Summit. It isn't very often that I have the opportunity to introduce a member of Congress, but today I'm pleased to be on the podium for the 2nd time in my career to introduce Congressman Stephanie Herseth Sandlin. Congresswoman Sandlin comes to us from the great state of South Dakota, where she is the top, the ranking, the best, and the only member of Congress. She's co-chair of the Blue Dog Coalition, which is a group of moderate Democrats committed to fiscal discipline, and a group very much favored by the forest products industry. In the brief time that I've known the Congresswoman, I found her to be personable, polite, a good listener, and a diligent elected legislator who works the system to get things done for her constituents. She has also a very good knowledge, in the brief time I've talked with her, about things like timber harvesting, forest management, and sustainability, and this is based upon her knowledge of the difficult issues that exist with regard to fuel loading and insect mortality on the Black Hills forest in her state, and she's pretty knowledgeable about forestry as well as about energy. She has a long list of offices held and professional accomplishments, but in order to provide the maximum time for her remarks this morning, I'm not going to recite the list. But with her permission, I'm just going to simply stop here and ask you to welcome her to the podium.
Thank you very much. Well, it's an honor for me to be here with all of you with the 25 by 25 Coalition, to see all of you once again, and to be introduced by Richard. It was just about a year ago today that I had the opportunity to join the FRA at their conference down in Myrtle Beach, not a bad place to be, back in May, I think it was, of last year, to talk about legislation that we were working on in the 110th Congress, legislation that I've reintroduced in this Congress that I'll be talking about in a little bit more detail. But I'm very grateful to be here and to have a little bit wider audience than we were originally anticipating, talking about the role of agriculture and forestry in meeting our energy needs in the United States. You know, I'm a farm girl from South Dakota. I grew up in the northeastern part of the state on a corn farm, corn and soybeans mostly, cow-calf operation, but part of every summer we spent on land that my dad also owned, right on the edge of the Black Hills National Forest. So growing up in agriculture, and I see my good friend Randy Connect here, I didn't know I was going to see Randy here. Randy farms right next door to us there in Brown County. We've had some flooding up there, so I'll have to talk to Randy afterward about what's been happening. But it's really an opportunity for the people that I grew up with, for people like Randy's son and others who are entering agriculture in South Dakota, but also those that are either private land managers or those who harvest timber on our private land in different parts of the country, but our role of federal lands. As the Secretary was just talking in terms of the role of federal lands for solar, for wind, for geothermal, we also have to look at the role that our federal lands can play as it relates to biomass for electricity generation and transportation fuel. You know, we stand united in our goal to advance the development of bioenergy for the generation of electricity, for use as transportation fuel, as I just mentioned, and to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gases. We have common goals in our quest to unlock the full potential of biomass feedstocks. Now, this conference that you're having today is particularly timely with this week's release of the Waxman-Markey Energy and Climate Change Discussion Draft, of which I had a chance to visit with Chairman Markey just yesterday in the Majority Leader's office. Saw him in the hall on my way to see all of you today, and we know how important your goals are to the overall goals advanced in this draft discussion, but your comments and your insights and our work together to fill in the details of this draft and some very difficult but hopefully ultimately resolvable issues that can be good in creating jobs and advancing economies and sustaining rural communities throughout the country. Now, as you know, this bill aims to reduce carbon emissions by 20% in 2020 and 80% by 2050. The bill